Hi, this is Denise Matthew. I hope you're doing well. I just want to pop in today to give a heads up and really talk about the energy that we've been experiencing as a collective. The last couple of weeks have been pretty intense. And I know that we did have a big shift with Pluto moving from Capricorn into Aquarius, but I mean, it didn't line shift for us. I thought when I was doing the overall looking at the year ahead videos, I thought, yeah, this would probably make some sort of a shift in the energy in it. And I think it did in a lot of ways. But with that aside, I think the biggest focus that I wanted to talk about right today would be Saturn, because I think that Saturn is something that, I mean, I woke up in the middle of the night last night and I had this sort of, this happens sometimes. I'll have this sort of download about some human design stuff. It's as sad as that is. I am so fully plugged into human design that it wakes me up in the night and I have these insights. And I think it kind of made a lot of sense because I do have a hanging gate 62. And this week we have the gate 17 in play. So I thought, yeah, that makes sense. I'm getting some awareness and some downloads. It's really about Saturn in the gate 55. And I think that the one thing that we can say about Saturn in the gate 55 is we know that Saturn is really about talking to us about, keeping the rules, staying to the rules that Saturn gives us. And when we stay to the rules, work hard, and kind of hold on to the path and go straight ahead, usually Saturn will leave us alone. But if we do try to divert from Saturn's agenda, then sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging. And I would say that a lot of energy, I think a lot of people have been saying things like, I've heard heaviness and gloomy, and I'm feeling those energies as well, because Saturn is definitely affecting my personal chart as well. So, I feel the energy as much as I talk about it. But ultimately, when I look at Saturn, I know that we did have quite a bit of an impact in 2022 from the gate 49 being transited by Saturn. I think it talked about food chain issues. We talked about revolutions, and I think that kind of theme, those kind of things, are still working through the collective. And you don't really need to go far. Just turn on the news, and you'll see what's happening around the world. There is a lot of revolutionary energy. There's a lot of energy that is just not taking the rules anymore and deciding to push back, and power to the people. So yes, we did talk about that in 2022, and it continues to be a theme because I think Saturn did sort of mutate the energy. But if we look at the gate 55 and really the gate 49, those are two energies that are considered to be under a tremendous amount of mutation. And we would look at the gate 49 being under mutation because if we look at the solar plexus mutation, which is apparently coming in 4 stages, it's quite a in-depth conversation, which I will definitely make a video on in the future. But basically, one of the things that it did say with the solar plexus mutation was this idea that we would have the gate 19 and the gate 49 sort of separating, and we would lose the pressure from the gate 19 to the gate 49 to act. So basically you have the pressure from the gate 19 that tells the gate 49 you need to get out there and do something. Now, from a relationship point of view, that's like, somebody telling their husband or wife or their partner or something like that and saying, you need to go out and support me or whatever. But from a global perspective, we're looking at this pressure shifting. And yes, it will be going in the future. Apparently, this is like based on the theory of the solar plexus mutation. But what I'm sort of focusing in on is this idea of the gate 49 and the gate 49 in the 6th line. And it really is this idea of Saturn is actually in detriment in the 6th line of the gate 49. So it makes sense that it really did open up a can of worms for a lot of these things that are happening. And now when we look at the gate 55, where Saturn is right now, again, we're looking at something that is under a tremendous amount of mutation. Saturn will be exalted in the gate 55 line 6. We know that the 6th line energy is under a tremendous amount of mutation in the collective for all of us. Anybody who has a 6th line in their body graph anywhere will feel that energy is is starting to mutate, starting to shift. It's like this feeling of you can't really get beyond the heaviness sometimes. And sometimes it's this idea of you want to grow out of your skin. It's like a butterfly that's within a cocoon and you're ready to come out, but maybe it's not time. The universe opens the door when it's just the right time, and we never really know. Even if you don't have a sixth line energy, we're all part of this mutation. We're all in the global aura of all the sixth line energy. We're all in the global aura of all the sixth line profiles. We also have relationships, family, friends, bosses, co-workers. All that energy is still in play. It doesn't matter if you have a sixth line in your profile or if you have a sixth line in your body graph. Ultimately, we are all being mutated in some way or another. And that's what Saturn is doing to us. It is pushing us. It is saying, okay, you want to be this thing in the future. And what that thing is in the future with the Gate 55 is this: you want to be an authentic version of you. And I think that if we look at the way the world has been, and that we have, we have glorified this idea of being so perfect in so many ways, like perfect figure, perfect physique for like athletic type things, perfect face, wrinkle free, anything that is, and if you look at the exaggerated surgeries that people have had because of this need to have some level of perfection. But what Saturn is telling us in the Gate 55 is it is an authenticity is your key to the future. Authenticity is your key to the path to your tomorrow. Because as soon as we are muting ourselves or not being who we are, then we're not actually aligning with the rules of Saturn. So that is one of the rules. It's saying, okay, authenticity. And I think there was a quote that I put on my community page not long ago. Authenticity is the key to the future, basically. And it is also the idea of Saturn is telling us surrender to what is, surrender to the flow of life, because ultimately, yes, we can do something. What we can do is be ourselves in all our imperfection, or what we don't want people to see because maybe we won't be accepted for it. This is about expressing who you are, being open to being yourself and not really worrying about what people have to say about it. It is being removed from the good opinion of anybody else. Ultimately, that's really what Saturn is telling us. The other perspective is, it is, like I said, surrender to the flow of life, surrender to what is. And I think that is what it's trying to tell us. Like, no matter how dark and dreary the world looks and how gloomy things might be, there was always a moment when the sun can come back out and the clouds will separate and we will see light again. And before that happens, how do we navigate the energy? Well, it's about being your own best self. It's about being the light in the world. It's about bringing your light to the world. Now, you might look at it and say, well, my light's pretty small. There's not much I can give. I mean, what can I really do? I'm pretty helpless in this big scheme of things. But that's not true, because it is every one of our lights. And when they come together, we are going to obviously brighten up the darkness. When we're looking through the world through a lens of possibility, as opposed to despair and destruction and all the things that we can see in the world happening right now, you are automatically bringing your light to the world. And that is what we sorely need right now. And I mean, like I said, a lot of people are talking about heaviness and gloom and darkness and kind of people are giving these prophetic ideas of what they see for the future. Well, ultimately, I don't think we really know what the future will bring. All we can know is when we see it, when we walk into that energy, we'll know what the future is going to bring. But how are you going to show up? This is about trying to bolster your strength. Saturn is saying, okay, you can do this. You've got a road ahead of you. And how are you going to make it to the finish line? You're going to drag yourself to the finish line, or are you going to walk with confidence, being who you are, to the finish line? The other perspective is that Saturn is Saturn in the Gate 55 line 6, as I just mentioned, is exalted, which is this divine selfishness, which is about taking care of yourself, pouring from the energy of understanding that you are already enough. You are already good enough. You are already just right the way you are. And there is no competition to be the perfect version of you. There is no competition to be perfect in any way. When we see that competition, it's only competition for ourselves, looking at the future and saying, okay, this is who I once was, but now I'm stepping into something new. And this is what I want to have for my future. This is making our decisions for the choices we want to make for the future. This is about speaking your authentic truth and aligning with your truth and not allowing anybody to tell you that your truth is not correct. And that's ultimately what it is. But remembering also that your truth isn't everybody's truth, and that's okay. It's like in the energy of human design says that if we want to be ourselves, this is about accepting other people for who they are. And that's the energy that we're working through. So there is potential for the future. So as we go through April, we're going to have the gate 55. Saturn will be still transiting through the gate 55, and I will go through the lines on my community page. Like if you want more details, please check out my community page. I do a post daily, and people find it's quite helpful. And so, if you want even more clarity, but if we're looking at some specific dates that we have going forward, we have from April 13th to 22nd, we have Mars moving into the gate 39, and that's going to bring us a full global emotional channel, which is the 3955. This is powerful emotional energy. When you have Mars and you also have Saturn in this energy, this is really pushing us to mutate, to change, to become that new version of who we want to be in our own story, in our own lives. This is not about mutating or changing for anybody else. It's mutating and changing for you. And yes, the pressure might be more because we are talking about the 3955 is a pressure energy, because the gate 39 is from the pressure of the root, and it goes to the emotional center. So that's an energy we will feel. It means that the energy overall, the emotional energy, will be increased. It means that the activation of the gate 36 that Neptune is in is going to happen too. So we have a lot of this energy within us to be more passionate, to be more creative. But yes, there's also this potential for melancholy, for gloom, for this feeling of, wow, it feels really heavy. But looking at that energy of heaviness and seeing that as potential, because there is something within that that's there's something inside of you that's being remolded into something new. Again, go back to the butterfly in the cocoon. It is being completely disassembled to be reassembled. And that's not easy, but the idea is that when we're renovating a house or we're changing something big in our lives, it gets messy before it gets clean. And this is where we're going. The end of the day, you can navigate this because you have the awareness and the clarity. The sun and the earth are also going to be going through all the awareness gates of the spleen. So it's giving us even more awareness, even more growth, even more ability to see beyond the illusion. There is always this ability to transcend the moments that we're living in, to see something beyond. And when we talk about the transcendence of this energy, or this ability to transcend some, this moment of seeing seeing something clear that you never saw before, well, it really comes down to this idea of maybe it's just a second, maybe it's just a minute, but it's something, and it gives you that ability to see beyond the veil, to see beyond chaos, see beyond the hustle that everybody is feeding into, and to go into stillness and see, okay, what can I do in this moment? What do I need to surrender to? What can I do in this very moment? And ultimately, that's the key, because we will also have the 360 channel going to be activated, and that's going to be activated from April 16th to the 22nd, and that's going to be between the sun and also Pluto. So again, this mutative energy that's mutating us, shifting us, making us feel kind of like almost pressurized, and sometimes limited, because limitation is saying, okay, if you are limited within your existence, or you're limited within your life, what can you do within that energy? What can you pull out of what you have in this moment? What kind of a meal can you make with 3 ingredients in your fridge? You know what I mean? That's what it's basically telling us. The other really impactful energy, and I think really interesting and rare energy that we're going to be having, is between Mars and Jupiter, and that's going to happen between April 23rd to May 3rd. Now, we also have a Mercury retrograde in the middle of all this. So we're going to finally have that slowing down of energy, because from January on right until April, we've been sort of flying forward and with no retrogrades of any kind. And now things are starting to slow down a little bit. And we're kind of looking at, what do we do? Where are we at? What do we want to reconfigure as we go forward? Mercury retrograde, I will talk about at a later date. I really wanted to talk about Mars moving into the gate 53 and Jupiter moving into the gate 42. Now, this will bring us a full 53-42 channel, which is quite interesting. As long as I've been doing the transits for the last 3 or so years, like publicly or on YouTube, I haven't seen this actually. I not that I can remember, I could be wrong, but I haven't really remembered this being activated for such a long extended period of time where we have this energy of cycles and cyclical energy. Now, I think this is powerful energy where we could be closing out cycles so we could begin something new, or alternatively, we could be starting something new that you want to stick with. Now, the key with this energy is Mars is going to be involved, and Mars is going to want to jump on board and not really do its due diligence and just say, okay, let's get in there and let's do this. That's not what the cyclical energy is about. This is experiential cyclical energy. This is format energy. This is very powerful energy that is starting a whole process. So you can get some really great advantages and opportunities from this energy, but it's only going to happen if you're taking your time, seeing what works for you, and only entering the cycles that you know that you really want to be in or that you want to complete. So ultimately, that's the big key. Do what you definitely want to stick with, because this is cyclical energy, which means if you end up jumping out of it before you finish the cycle, then you're going to there's potential for regret. There's potential for what could have been. And if you are in a cycle that you can't stand, then that's even worse, because you just don't want to be in it anymore. So ultimately, this is about making the choices that are going to serve you the best, making the choices for the cycles that you really want to be part of. So it is a great energy. Again, yes, we do have Mercury retrograde at that same time, but I really do feel like, the thing about Mercury is, yeah, you don't necessarily want to jump out and start doing a bunch of new things. But ultimately, if something is right and it just happens to be Mercury retrograde, then sometimes you have to break the rules. And that's a decision that you can make, and you'll know. And it really comes from your inner knowing and being aware based on your life and what feels good for you, because ultimately you are the one who knows best for you. Nobody else knows as well as you do about what is good for you in your life. And whenever you're making those kinds of decisions that you know are good for you, well, then that's usually when it's correct, and you can move in a new trajectory or new cycle. The other perspective is, with Mercury retrograde, we might be having some repeat cycles, or even building on a foundation of an old cycle, starting a new cycle built on the old foundation so you're cycling up, or some people call it a glow up. So these are all these energies that we're going to be working with within April. And I think it's going to be an impactful month. But I think the most important thing that we can remember is there is a lot of energy. And if you feel a certain way, just checking in with your energy, sometimes checking in with the transits. What's happening in my chart? Am I going to jump into something, but which may not be correct for me just because it feels like, oh, I feel pushed to do it. There's a pressure to do it. Or is it something that I truly want to do? Awareness is key. And if you are aware and open to possibility, then this could be a month that you do really well with. Emotional energy can pull us into things that we may not necessarily go into normally, especially if you're open emotionally. This is mutation. This is you shifting. What kind of mutation comes out at the other side? Is we are building up to 2027. We are building up to the new mutations that are showing up in the collective, and the global shift from the cross of planning to the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And all of us are part of the solution. And as soon as we can see that we are all part of the solution, we can put our light out into the world and make a difference. And if it's small, it doesn't matter. It's small, it's something. Something is always better than nothing. And that's always been my opinion. So with that said, I really hope you guys have a wonderful April. I will be on the community page doing my thing, and I will be back for also the moons. We have eclipse this month as well. And until next time, take care, and I'll see you again soon.